Hello, hello. How is everybody in the Vayner Nation doing? It is so great to be here and so great to be hosting you all virtually on this live stream. Peter, how are you?
I'm amazing. It's a great day for a great day. I'm
It's a
excited for
great
this topic
day.
of conversation.
Indeed, it is a beautiful sunny Thursday. I'm sitting here in our Miami office. It looks like you are a little more north than me, Peter. Um, and we have some really
We're
exciting guests
grateful.
for
We're
us.
grateful for the good weather. Last couple of days, we've had some
Good
warm
weather
spring entrance.
is subjective. I love that. Okay, so Peter, you have been working on this study for, I heard, quite a while with our dear friends at Realeyes and Snapchat. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of what we'll be hearing today?
Absolutely. I think for everyone here, we're all aware of the short form video wars that are happening, right? We've got all types of vertical video feeds, and historically, the conversation has really been around TikTok. Naturally, they're the real genesis of it. Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, obviously getting into the mix, and Snapchat has always had one, and that is now going to be moving into becoming a bit more applicable and similar to all the other kind of vertical feed platforms that are out there. So with this new simple snap format that's coming, and Kara's going to talk a little bit more about it, what we really care about in the world is building brand. And the way to build brand is you got to be able to make content as a creator or a brand to engage and maximize connectivity to the consumers that are on the platform. And so platform nativity really matters. So you got to make content using the native platform features, but more importantly, you have to make content speaking the love language of the actual consumer. You can't just take one asset, plop it everywhere, and make it a go. And
Sure can.
so as this new format is coming out, we wanted to really understand, what does good creative on the platform look like that performs well? And so Realize is some of the best in the business objectively, based on their ability to actually gauge human emotion, and getting an opportunity to work with Kara and RT, and Liz and Frank and team have been the best. So really excited to share what we've learned, uh, and excited to get into it.
Well, with no further ado, we're going to bring on Kara, who is from Snapchat and helped really lead a lot of this research, and Alex from Real Eyes. You three are going to take our audience through a little bit of what we have done in research and found. This is going to be amazing. So everybody tune in, get your pencils and pens ready, because you're going to learn a lot from these three amazing people.
Thanks so much, Dave. All right. Before we get into all of the details, let's go to the next slide. We can get the agenda going. We're going to talk a little bit around the why. I'm just going to take a couple minutes on why I think everyone tuning in here needs to pay attention to Snapchat. We're going to go through the study, what we wanted to learn, what we actually learned, and hopefully have a little bit of time for discussion. Like, let's leave the conversation. Please ask questions in the comments as well, and we'll hopefully get to those with enough time. But if we go to the next slide, like I mentioned earlier with Avery, uh, video consumption, or video itself, is naturally the currency within which how everyone is being communicating. And it's funny, like on platforms like Instagram, the sends per views, which is for every video that someone watches, how often do they actually share it, is becoming a really big indicator of creating content that can go viral and content that people will likely consume. And we think about Snapchat. Snapchat has always been primarily a DM communication platform with a lot of entertainment hooks built in. And I think inherently it hasn't been quote unquote endemically social in the way that social platforms have been. And I think a lot of that will start to change based on some of the new product enhancements that they have coming out later this quarter. But if we go to the next slide, I think the main point here is really around not just content. And like when you look at the screen, I think naturally everyone thinks AR and lenses and things of that sort with Snap. I think what everyone is learning in the spirit of TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts dominating so much of the creative output across the board, you have to make platform native. And so I would encourage everyone, as you listen to the learnings that Alex and Kara and team take us through, it's less about, oh yeah, Snap's AR lenses, blah, blah, blah. It's not that at all. It's actually, that is platform native. So how do we start to get into the mindset of Snapchat with a platform nativity? And that nativity really matters, because if we go to the next slide, um, you know, let's go to the next slide. 850 million people are on this platform. The amount of time people are spending time watching content is increasing. You heard Instagram talk about their stats in video consumption. You heard YouTube break through with a lot of that. But really what makes me think so much about this platform, if we go to the next slide, is that not only 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds are on the platform. Just think about this, like irrespective of any other stat, when you think about time and mind share and trying to get in front of customers in a world where brand building has never been more clearly associated to driving sales online or in store, when you get 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds, and I was fascinated because I just learned this stat the other day, which is 75% of 13 to 34-year-olds are on the platform, and 1 in 4 of Snapchatters are over the age of 35. I'm in my 40s. I'm pretty active on Snap. But that's not the point. The point is, if you're in a world where you're trying to build brand in every surface that matters, diversity of platforms certainly play a key role. And the audience here in its own right is like, how do we not spend more time here? And at the very least, not treat it as an afterthought as much as how do I actually make content that will resonate with consumers because so much people are on here. And I know, Carrie, you have all the stats around incrementality and all that stuff, but I don't think everyone really understands the density of the audiences that they're trying to reach that exist on the platform. And so hopefully people will start to learn some of that stuff today.
Awesome. Well, thanks, PC, for the intro. So just to talk a little bit more about Snapchat and what's really driving growth on our platform and why people are using our app every single day. Well, we know that Snapchatters are coming to our platform to consume video across need states, whether it's to seek entertainment, to fulfill spare time, and explore new trends. And we're also seeing that Snapchatters are choosing our platform for real, authentic connections. And we're overwhelmingly being used to connect with close friends and family, whether that's through our map, chat, camera, stories, and spotlight tabs. And as Peter teased out before, we've begun to test a new and simplified Snapchat that organizes the app around communicating with friends, using the camera, and watching snaps from friends and the broader Snapchat community, including creators and publishers. And so with this simplified Snapchat, we only expect video consumption to continue to increase as Snapchatters will have an even more personal and relevant viewing experience. And so with the evolution of Snapchat's platform, we aim to understand the new content rules for brands in order to capture consumer attention in order to drive real business outcomes. And so we partnered with Vayner to test the effectiveness of 8 pillars of content on Snapchat. To walk you through these, the first one included UGC, which is platform native content that has been created to look low lift, authentic, and DIY. Snapstars, content that is produced by our network of prominent expert creators on Snapchat. Hacking, content that breaks out of the confines of its placement, dimensions, and specs. Timely topic, content that is produced to coincide with a current upcoming event or trending topic. Lens-powered content, which is video content that features AR branded lens. Commerce, content that directly sells a product or service. Edutainment, content that meets at the convergence of education and entertainment of a new product or service. And finally, brand polish, or content made for Snap that is heavily branded. So some of the key questions that we focused our research on included: 1, what drives Snapchatters to consume video content? 2, what content pillars are the most effective on Snapchat? And finally, what are the creative elements that brands need to incorporate in their video content strategy in order to capture attention and drive business impact? And so now I'm going to hand it over to our friends at Realeyes to talk you through the methodology for our study.
Thanks very much, Kara. We'll take you through the methodology here. For those of you who are not familiar, Realeyes is a technology company that over the past 15 or so years has pioneered the visual measurement of attention and emotional reactions. This is a form of AI. And for this particular study, we recruited over 5,000 Snapchatters who browsed Snap while we measured whether their eyes were on screen, which is attention, and then whether they reacted emotionally, for example, by smiling. We also, in that process, captured interaction data such as swipes and then brand impact metrics via a survey. In total, with this methodology, we tested 32 ads across the 8 categories that Kara just described, which in total gave us a ton of data on the real human experience of Snap. So I get to take you through the first rule here. And what I'm going to show you is, so what content do consumers want to see from brands? In this research, we uncovered 6 rules to great content creation on Snapchat. So rule number 1 is all about UGC, and specifically we revealed the power of user-generated content to drive engagement. So unpicking that a little bit, user-generated, platform-native brand content that looked authentic generated 19% more happiness or smiles and captured attention for at least 13% longer than other ads in the study. And this was especially true with millennials. You can see an example on the left here from Removery. And in that example, the creator talks about Removery's tattoo removal services in a genuine, natural, authentic way to her followers, with the last frame highlighting the call to action to learn more about her services. And this is a classic example of the type of content that works seamlessly with organic content in the Spotlight page. And then in this example from Toontown, what you can see on the right-hand side here is the second-by-second implicit consumer response to the content. The blue line represents the magnitude of overall emotional reaction to the content, while the yellow line represents consumer levels of happiness specifically. And what you can observe is throughout the video, there was a strong upward trend in happiness, like trending above norm to the very end. And there's a notable peak at second 5 here, which coincides with a surprising, humorous moment in the creative that drives an emotional response and is therefore likely to be remembered.
Awesome. So moving on to our second rule, which revealed the power of brands partnering with Snap stars in order to reach their audiences. So to give you some more background on what Snap stars are, they are Snapchat's premier content creators who have been hand selected by Snapchat's talent team based on their expertise of what works best on the platform. So brand collaborations with Snap stars effectively captured attention, and we saw that they generated attention that was 33% higher and reactions that were 10% higher than the study average, which indicated a really strong interest in the content. We did see when we cut the results by females, they had an even stronger reaction than males to this type of content. And I love this example on the left-hand side from Levi's. One of our Snap stars used an AR personal stylist to help him choose the perfect outfit for his date to then share out with his community through his personal story. This was such a wonderful way for a brand to get started, and we've seen full funnel results when brands use integrated marketing packages across both lens and creators. I'm also going to show you another example. This was a real campaign for Comcast that ran on Snapchat in the last year. And Comcast leveraged Snapstars to raise awareness and drum up excitement with friends and family for their latest Xfinity 10G network launch. And we did see here that this campaign did so well and exceeded our brand lift norms. And we saw that the combination of AR experiences and a partnership with Snapstars helped to result in an engaging, shareable, and highly successful launch.
Hey, Kara, can I just jump in and do one build on this rule? Because I think the audience is probably just used to seeing so much information come from platforms just around creators, and creators everywhere. And, you know, in the Snap ecosystem, obviously Snap stars. One, I think just as a general headline for everyone here, I think what you're going to see from every platform this year is an enormous push for creators. And it's less about a monetization grab versus a being relevant point. And I think in the Snap ecosystem, Snap stars typically, in my opinion, seem to over-index on performance versus other creator networks, because a lot of the other creator networks have creators that are across multiple platforms. And so I think the stat that's really stood out to me that came out a couple of weeks ago, which is audiences in Gen Z and young millennials trust their peer creators 3.2 times more than corporate messaging. So I think we always knew that creators were a mechanism of relevance, but knowing that they actually have data that now in a world where so much of everything we see in our tribal feeds are all creator based or influencer based, the definition of it is evolving, right? But more importantly, we should understand that it is much more impactful than corporate messaging by itself. And this isn't to say that brands that are tuning in or the brands that will see this at some point are not valuable. You just have to understand how algorithms are influencing consumer behavior and sentiment on platforms, and really understanding Snap Stars as a mechanism to build trust and relevance being there is one that all of us should really take the time to explore.
Thank you.
Back to you, Karen.
And then back to me. So rule number 3 is all about the value of edutainment content. And just to clarify what edutainment content is, these are creatives that combine an educational value with entertainment in engaging ways. And what we found is that edutainment content over-indexed for driving emotional reactions, overall emotional reactions, by 12%, captured 30% more attention, and yielded 16% higher persuasion versus your typical ad, which is very strong performance across the board. With 46% of Snapchatters watching video for inspiration and tips. The rule is that brands need to create content that provides knowledge back to users in a fun and entertaining way. And then in this example from Crowded Kitchen, again, we can see second by second consumer responses to the content on the right-hand side. So what you can see here is that attention peaks immediately at second 1, and then is held above norm pretty much throughout the viewing experience, meaning the content successfully retained attention better than average. So we ultimately hypothesize that Snapchatters perceived the educational and entertainment value in this video, which drove both above norm attention and strong levels of happiness, as you can see with the level of the yellow line there. So it was an engaging, but crucially also a memorable viewing experience.
All right. So our 4th rule revealed how lens-powered video content can drive impact. So we saw here that video content that featured everyday people using AR lenses on Snapchat were the most successful at driving brand recognition. And we saw that it actually generated a 40% higher increase in brand recognition and 32% increase in ad recall versus all of the different assets that we tested for this study. So the learning here was that engaging and humorous content that was paired with AR branded lenses have the ability to drive strong memorability, which is of course foundational to upper funnel campaigns. And so the key takeaway is don't shy away from new tech, embrace it while implementing platform native features like AR in order to drive attention and with users.
Kara, I'm going to just jump in, sorry, just on rule number 4, because a couple of things I think practical for everyone in the audience. If you're a brand and a viewer and you have not claimed your public profile, you must go claim your public profile. You as a brand can have your profile just like you have a profile on Instagram and TikTok and such. And part of what comes up onto that profile are the lenses that you make, right? And so to the point around platform nativity and ensuring that you're making content that users on the platform will connect with, the perceived hurdle of lens creation is actually much higher than the reality of how to make them. So there's things that we can do as a follow-up, and maybe we'll find a way, Kara, to get the information out to the folks that have tuned in just on the AR Lens Studio, a bunch of jumpstart templates to get going, very, very, very low friction and low effort ways to build lenses. It's literally like automagical. So I just wanted to make the point that lenses, you may view this as like, oh, now I got to make lenses to be platform native. No, there's many different ways that you can engage with consumers, and that will become more normalized to what we're doing today as Simple Snap really starts to scale. But lenses generally, like, where will you have a brand asset that consumers will spend I think, what is it, 68 seconds-ish on an asset long. So if I think about that, and the friction to get that going is so low, and it becomes an aspect to your public profile. So I just wanted to share some of those things with the audience.
Thanks, PC. So on to rule number 5, which showed how hacking content helps to drive ad likability. So content that hacks the platform and breaks out of the traditional confines of its placement dimensions performed exceptionally well for ad likability at 14% higher than the study average, and persuasion at 9% higher. Especially with Gen Z. Gen Z were much more receptive in that. I think Gen Z were 33% more likely than millennials to feel more positive about the brand advertised after exposure to this type of content. So the overall learning is that content that jumps out of the screen captivates and captures attention, but that also translates into strong likability. That type of content is well liked. And here's another example that we tested for Headspace. So with this piece of content, it encourages users to breathe in and breathe out. And as that happens, the Headspace character gets larger and larger and almost comes at the user out of the screen. And what the attention curve on the right-hand side shows is that this immediately hooks attention within the first couple of seconds, and then is successful at holding attention better than norm throughout the whole experience. So it's a captivating and effective creative technique.
All right, so bringing it home with our last rule, which touches on the importance of aligning brand content to passion points. So in our custom survey with Realeyes, we learned that it was clear that Snapchatters wanted to see content that speaks to their interests and passions. In particular, we saw that Snapchatters want to see food and entertainment, beauty, travel, and shopping content. Meanwhile, we did see that females were more likely to engage in fashion, shopping, health, and fitness content, and males wanted to see more sports and personal finance type content. And so here we learned that brands need to keep this in mind and tailor their content to align with consumer passion points to drive even stronger engagement while making sure it still fits within their core brand values. And why does this matter? Well, we have seen, especially for Gen Z, when brands incorporate passions into their advertising, they're even more likely to say that the ad is memorable, and they're more likely to even have loyalty to that brand and become a consumer's go-to brand. So the learning here is show the people what they love when building brand content, because it does help to inspire purchase. All right, so we shared a lot today. With the forthcoming rollout of Simple Snapchat, our research unveiled the modern rules for creating content to not only capture attention, but drive outcomes in a UGC-driven world. We did see that UGC content that is native to the platform is an easy way to capture attention as it flows seamlessly with organic content in that spotlight feed and helps to evoke strong feelings of emotions. Edutainment type content effectively engaged and educated consumers on their brand offerings, driving strong persuasion. And when done correctly, lens-powered content that's engaging and humorous can have a really strong impact on both ad recall and brand recognition. We also highly recommend partnering with Snapstars on Snapchat. Snapstars are expert creators on the platform, and they know the ins and outs of building content with our features, and they have a strong following on our platform to reach new audiences. Featuring hacking content can stop consumers in their tracks, and it performed best for ad likability. And finally, don't forget to engage consumers by aligning brand content with key passion points. This will only drive a stronger likelihood to purchase. So while we talked about these rules in isolation today, it's really important to know it's the synergies of all these rules that brands need to keep in mind when creating great content on Snapchat. All right, so that's all we have for you today. If you are interested in learning more about the research, our blog post highlighting the findings is now live on the Snapchat for Business page. You can also download the full report on the Vayner page. If you want to learn more about Snapchat in general or deep dive into the findings, feel free to reach out to us. And finally, if you want to learn more about Realeyes attention measurement, feel free to reach out to Alex. Thank you so much for your time. And I will pause there if anyone has any questions in the chat.
Abe, you're on mute.
Man, 5 years of COVID, and we're still on mute. Kara, Alex, PC, you all absolutely crushed this. I think a lot of brands underestimate the power and the potential of Snap. I'm feeling and manifesting it's going to be the summer of Snap, especially with some of these really cool new product improvements, and armed with the research of how to actually create content that breaks through. One question I had for you, for brands who are not yet like active on Snap, where's the best place for them to get started? Is it creators? Is it organic? What do we think?
Yeah, based on this research, creator content is probably the most natural way to get started on our platform. We're seeing that creator content is landing with Gen Z because it's almost like connecting with your friends and family. So brands can almost use creators as like a mutual friend in order to connect with their audience. So I would say creators, and also, again, augmented reality has been a fun way to immediately engage with audiences.
Bring back the Gatorade Snap filter that broke the internet. We need that at all times. I appreciate you all so much for making the time. This is a fantastic study, fascinating study. I know a lot of people watch this recording after the fact. So if you have any questions, email these folks here, check out the report, share it to your friends, and tell us what you think. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.